I didn't know I was the other woman. I hated gallery openings, but Chloe practically dragged me to this one. "You need to get out there, Sarah," she'd said, her voice full of that fake concerned sweetness she used when she thought I was becoming a hermit. "You can't live on takeout and graphic design forever." So there I was, nursing a lukewarm glass of cheap wine, surrounded by people who were clearly much more knowledgeable, or at least better at pretending to be about art than I was. I was just about to make my escape when I bumped into him. "Oh, sorry," I mumbled, my cheeks flushing as some of my wine sloshed onto his expensive-looking suit. "No worries at all," he said, his smile instantly disarming. He had these kind eyes, the type that made you feel instantly comfortable, like you'd known him forever. "Mark," he offered, extending a hand. "Sarah," I replied, shaking it. His grip was firm, confident. We talked for what felt like hours that night. About art, about music, about our jobs. He was an architect, successful, passionate about his work. He seemed genuinely interested in what I had to say, which was a welcome change from the usual dating scene. He even laughed at my terrible jokes. He asked for my number before the night was over, and I gave it to him without hesitation. The next few weeks were a blur. Mark was everything I thought I wanted. He was attentive, showering me with compliments and little gifts. Flowers at my apartment, a new set of pens because he knew I loved to sketch, even just a thoughtful text message in the middle of a busy day. He made me feel seen, appreciated, something I hadn't felt in a long time. Our dates were amazing. Romantic dinners at trendy restaurants, walks through the city at night, weekends exploring hidden art galleries. He always seemed to know the perfect thing to say, the perfect thing to do. Chloe, of course, was skeptical. "He's too good to be true, Sarah," she warned as we were having brunch. "No one is that perfect." "What's the catch?" I brushed it off. "You're just jealous," I teased. "Maybe you need to get out there yourself." But even as I said it, a tiny seed of doubt was planted. There were things, odd things. He was always busy on weekends. He never wanted to come back to my place late at night, always insisting he had an early meeting. And he was strangely private about his phone, always turning it face down when we were together. "He's just focused on his work," I told Chloe, trying to convince myself more than her. "He's got a big project coming up." And Mark had an explanation for everything. He was close with his family, but they were complicated. He worked long hours. He just valued his privacy. He said all the right things, and I wanted to believe him so badly that I did. I started noticing other things, too. Like the way he'd avoid certain streets when we were driving, or the way he'd tense up if I mentioned meeting his friends. One night, we were having dinner and his phone buzzed. He glanced at it quickly, his face clouding over. "Everything okay?" I asked, trying to keep my voice casual. "Yeah, just work," he said, dismissing it with a wave of his hand. But I'd caught a glimpse of the message. It was from someone named E, and it said, "Missing you already, babe." My stomach dropped. "Who's E?" I asked, my voice trembling slightly. He hesitated for a moment, then said, "Just a colleague. We're working on a big project together and she gets a little intense." I wanted to believe him, but the doubt was gnawing at me. I started doing some digging. Nothing crazy, just a little social media stalking. But Mark was surprisingly absent from the internet. No Facebook, no Instagram, nothing. It was like he didn't exist outside of our little bubble. I asked a few mutual acquaintances about him, trying to be discreet, but no one seemed to know much. He was new to the city, they said, kept to himself. The more I tried to find out about him, the more suspicious I became. But I was also terrified of what I might find. I was so invested in this relationship, so happy for the first time in years. I didn't want to ruin it. One afternoon, I decided to surprise him at his office. I knew he was working late, and I thought it would be nice to bring him some coffee and a snack. I walked into the lobby of his building and told the receptionist I was there to see Mark. "And you are?" she asked, smiling politely. "Sarah," I said. "I'm a friend." "Oh yes, Mark's expecting you," she said. "Just go right up to the 10th floor. His office is the last one on the right." As I was turning to go, she added, "It's so sweet of you to bring him a treat. His wife, Emily, usually takes care of that sort of thing." I froze. "His wife?" I repeated, my voice barely a whisper. The receptionist looked at me, her smile faltering slightly. "Yes," she said. "Emily is lovely. She called earlier to arrange a surprise birthday celebration for him next week." My world shattered. Everything suddenly made sense. The weekends, the secrecy, the phone, everything. I turned and walked out of the building, my legs feeling like lead. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't think. I drove home in a daze, parked the car, and just sat there for what felt like hours, staring blankly ahead. Chloe called, but I didn't answer. I didn't want to talk to anyone. Finally, I forced myself to get out of the car and go inside. I poured myself a glass of wine and sat down on the couch, trying to process what I had just learned. He was married, he had a wife, and I, stupid, naive me, had been the other woman. Rage bubbled up inside me, hot and furious. How could he do this to me? How could he lie to me so easily? I decided I wasn't going to let him get away with it. I deserved an explanation. Emily deserved to know the truth. It was Mark's birthday that weekend. I had already made reservations at his favorite restaurant. I decided to keep them. I got dressed carefully, choosing a dress that made me feel confident and strong. I did my makeup, trying to hide the dark circles under my eyes. When Mark arrived at the restaurant, he looked surprised to see me. "Sarah," he said, his voice hesitant. "What are you doing here?" "Happy birthday, Mark," I said, my voice cold and steady. "We have a lot to talk about." He led me to our table, his face pale. He knew something was up. We ordered drinks and then I laid it all out. I told him what I had learned from the receptionist. I told him I knew about Emily. He tried to deny it at first, but I wasn't having it. I had the proof. Finally, he broke down. He confessed everything. He said he was unhappy in his marriage. He said he loved me. "Don't," I snapped. "Don't you dare tell me you love me. You don't know what love is." He tried to touch me, but I pulled away. "I don't want to see you again," I said, "ever." I stood up and walked out of the restaurant, leaving him sitting there alone. Chloe was waiting for me at my apartment. She hugged me tightly as soon as I walked in. "I'm so sorry, Sarah," she said. "I knew something was off about that guy." I told her everything that had happened, and she listened patiently, offering words of comfort and support. "What are you going to do now?" she asked. "I don't know," I said, "but I'm not going to let him ruin my life." The next few weeks were hard. I felt betrayed, humiliated, and angry. I couldn't sleep, I couldn't eat, and I couldn't focus on my work. I kept replaying everything in my head, wondering if I could have seen the signs earlier, wondering if I was just stupid. Chloe encouraged me to go to therapy, and I finally agreed. Talking to a professional helped me to process my emotions and start to heal. One day, I decided I needed to talk to Emily. I found her number online and called her. The conversation was awkward and tense at first. She was angry, and rightfully so. But as we talked, we realized that we had both been victims of Mark's lies. We met for coffee a few days later. We shared our stories, comparing notes on Mark's behavior. It was strangely comforting to know that I wasn't alone. Emily decided to leave Mark. She packed her bags and moved out. I don't know what happened to Mark after that. I heard through the grapevine that his professional reputation had taken a hit, that he had lost the trust of his colleagues and friends. I focused on rebuilding my life. I threw myself into my work. I spent time with my friends and family. I started taking yoga classes. Slowly but surely, I started to heal. I realized that Mark's actions were a reflection of his character, not a reflection of my worth. One day, I ran into Emily at a local farmer's market. We talked for a while, catching up on our lives. "I'm doing okay," she said. "It's been hard, but I'm moving on." "Me too," I said. "I'm finally starting to feel like myself again." We hugged goodbye, a silent acknowledgement of the pain we had both endured. A few weeks later, David, a colleague from work who always seemed to have a kind smile for me, asked me out for a drink. I hesitated for a moment, then said yes. "I'm not really looking for anything serious right now," I told him on our date. "I understand," he said. "I just enjoy spending time with you." I smiled. Maybe, just maybe, there was hope for me after all. But I also knew that I was okay on my own. I had learned a valuable lesson about trust, deception, and self-worth, and I was stronger for it. I walked back to my apartment that night, the city lights blurred around me, and for the first time in a long time, I felt like I was finally free.